gardener, know to grow it. I'm co-chair with Summer Summers. And this morning, we are so excited to have Jamie Wilkerson with us for a canning 101 program. And Jamie has been married for 15 years to her husband, Wes. She has 6 children and 1 granddaughter. She's been canning on and off most of her life. And she can remember canning with her grandma when she was little and mostly did jams and jellies. As she got older, she learned how to do salsa and simple vegetables. As her kids grew, she wanted to make sure that they weren't getting a bunch of chemical preservatives and such in their food. So she taught herself to can meats, meals, and more. And her main focus and her husband's main focus is having shelf-stable foods that are accessible, along with being preservative and chemical-free. So we're thrilled to have Jamie with us today.
Hey, thank you guys. And I've been doing it most of my life, but like I was telling them earlier, you always learn something new. I mean, you don't always know it all. So I have dabbled into when I said I've learned how to do jams and jellies with my grandma. That was basically, we were plums, apples, just stuff that she had around and everything, because we lived in the country and we didn't have all the big stores and everything. Which now, if you want to learn how to do your jams and jellies, you can go to the supermarket, get your organic foods, and try to do it that way. But we done strawberry jam and peach jam and stuff like jelly. So I was basically, the first thing I always tell everybody is to start with water canning. I know it looks horrible because this one's probably 10, 15 years old. That is off the top. But this is your water bath canner. That is going to be your basic starting point when you're a canner. If you haven't ever canned. And that is when you're going to can your high acidic foods. When you start canning, you'll start reading about low acidic and high acidic. Your low acidic foods is going to be like your green beans and your corn, okra, stuff that don't have vinegar in it. So that was where you'll go to a pressure canner. And I was really nervous at first with a pressure canner because when I was a kid, grandmother had one of the short ones, and you'd always see that, and I always thought it was going to blow up. So I didn't want to do that at first. So I stuck with this. And I always made like relishes and pickles. And pickles is usually that's where I want to start. They get cucumbers because when you grow cucumbers in your garden, you always have so many. So I got a basic cucumber pickle recipe and started that way. And we use like your canning salts and everything to do it. And I've tried bread and butter. I mean, you name it. I've even ventured off now. I'm doing squash pickles and stuff like that. So when you're doing that, let's see, I left all my notes at home, so I'm just trying to wing what I had. But when you're water bath canning, that's going to be our first thing I say is safe to start with, and because that's your high acidic foods. And some of your like tomatoes and stuff, they're not really acidic tomatoes, but once you add your vinegar or your lemon juice or something, that gives them the acidity. So you would put them in you'll always go by reference, and ball is usually one of the FDA, USDA certified things. But they have charts in here. I don't know that one of them does. If you look for the ball emblems on the books, you can look. I think this is at Walmart. That's where I got this a couple years ago. So if I find new stuff, I'm always grabbing stuff. I guess the first thing you need to start out with is knowing your elevation on a lot of things. And you can look, a bunch of these have charts in the back to know your elevation, which here in town, I mean, you can, if you have an iPhone or whatever, I guess anything, you can ask, what's my elevation, where you're at. Your location's on, they'll tell you your elevation. So you'll know how long to pressure can or how long to water bath can things. Now, I live on top of the mountain, so I'm almost at 1,000 feet elevation. So mine's a little different from some of the people here in town. So, but you would take it in the water bath can, and you don't have to do it as much, but when you do you have all these different size jars. So I have a large family, so just about all my stuff is in quarts. But so my quarts are going to have to go longer when you cook them. So you would have those, and this is your time. I don't really, it's 30 minutes in the pressure canner for like vegetables and stuff, and 25 for pints. And then when you're water bath canning, you don't have to worry about your pressure. It's just making sure the water is over on a certain thing. So I guess before we get started on that, I'll walk you through when you want to wash all your jars. I mean, they come clean and everything. We wash them and sterilize them first. And when you sterilize them, I just boil water and do them that way. But some people put them in their dishwasher and get them hot. As long as you just have a clean, hot, sterile, that way you're not introducing any bacteria into it. I know the biggest thing that scares everybody with canning is botulism. And it is very real. It is a bacteria that gets in. It has no, you can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it. And it's a neurotoxin. So it's going to mess with your brain and all that. And it has been, back in the days when they didn't have the pressure canners and the proper way, a lot of people died from it. But it's not as common these days as it was then. I mean, that people still scare you. You go on these blogs and Facebook, oh, don't do that because you're going to be botulism. You're going to kill your family. So just follow through the safetyness of it. So when I say safety, make sure your jars are sterile, and I should have brought empty jars. But when you're filling it, make sure you do your produce. Like if you're doing like the green beans, we just done these. We got them from Malvern Vineyards. I think the master gardeners went down there on one of their trips. We got them and we got out of the back porch and done them, and we rinsed them all. And I like to bring them to a bowl. A lot of people won't bring them to a bowl, but I just like to bring them to a bowl. Then I drain them and I pack them in there. When you think you got them in there packed, you can pack them some more. They just keep pushing. Because when they cook, they are going to shrink up. So I packed a bunch in there, and you have a debubbler, which I didn't bring my debubbler. It comes with a kit that you get from Walmart. You'll have your jar thing. This little magic thing pulls the lids out of the hot water, and this is what you put on your jars when you're filling it, because the one important thing is headspace. When you're filling your jars, you want to leave headspace, because that pressure is going to build. You're going to have that negative pressure in there, and that in the pressure canner and in the water bath canner. So that is always used with that. So get your clean jars, prepare your produce or fruits or whatever you're using, or meat, because I do canned meat, and you'll put this in there and you'll fill it to however it's supposed to be. Now, when I can meat and potatoes and meat and potatoes is my main, I don't add any liquids to my jars. I raw pack. And that is just where you're taking the meat, you're shoving it down in there, and you're pushing, trying to get all those air pockets out, because that air pocket's where all your bacteria and everything is from. So you're pressing all that meat in there, but the rule of thumb is usually like a 1/2 inch headspace. Well, this thing has it on here. But if you look on some jars, it's not on this one, it'll have a fill line on some of the jars. And the little ring things, that's what I use, because they line up pretty close to that right there is 3/4 of an inch, that's a 1/2 inch, and that little bitty one's 1/4 inch. And that's just about on every jar. You'll run into that. And then you have your lids. I think sometimes now they say you don't have to put them in hot water, but I've always put them in hot water to get the seal up underneath them. You get this, and you stick it on there, and you take your rings, and you finger tighten, which I do it a little bit tighter, because I've learned if you don't get them tight enough, when they're either in the water bath or the pressure canner, they'll siphon out, and you'll start smelling the burntness, and you'll be like, why is that? Well, it's coming out of the jar, the lid. As it's trying to seal, it's bubbling out. So once I had all that in there, and I'd have my water in my pot. Best thing to remember is if you're packing cold, you start with cold water in your canner. If you're pouring, like, say you were making beef stew, and you poured your hot beef broth on top of your stuff, that's a hot pack. You start with hot water. So I'd either have hot water or cold water in there, and I'd submerge my cans in with 1 inch over the top of them. That way it's keeping the whole can rolling at the boil. Now your water bath canning is only going to get up to, I think it's 212 degrees. That's boiling water on a stove. That's your highest limit that you can get to. Now your pressure canner is going to get to like 220, but it's going a little higher. But it's because it has the pressurized in it. So once you've done all that, just say you had it, I'm trying to think about jelly. I've done it. So it had to go for 30 minutes, I think. That's what we done on muscadine jelly. Once it's done, I don't pull them out as soon as it's 30 minutes. I let it kind of come down a little bit, and then I'll pull them all out with one of these. And be careful, because it is super hot when you do that. And you'll see bubbles when it's boiling in there, and that's perfectly fine. And you'll take them and sit them on a towel on your counter somewhere out of the way, because you don't want to touch them for 24 hours. That gives everything time to settle, and these rims here, they've got the gummies, it seals on them. Then you can tap on them usually, and it's got a little bubble there. Everybody usually knows where the little canning bubbles are, it'll make a boop, boop if it didn't seal, and this one's sealed, so it's kind of hollow sounding. And then I wipe them off and clean them. I put a little splash of vinegar in my water in both the canners because sometimes it leaves a residue on your jars. And you can scrub these with Dawn and scrub it if you do have a residue, and it is fine. And then, like I said, they go on your shelf. We just done those, but I know that was done back in March. And I have rotel at the house, I have corn, I mean, they're 3 years old, but I still go and get them and use them. Because canning, you just want to check, they last forever. I mean, I've seen people use stuff from like 7, 8 years ago, and it's still fresh when they do it. And I have seen people eat stuff 10 years ago. I'm not that brave yet. But that's the biggest thing on water bath canning is just making sure you have the water over it. That way your whole can's being, and don't double stack in the water bath canner because it'll be bubbling and it'll fall over and then you'll have a big mess because it'll break. They break easier in the water bath canner. Now, when I first started this, like I said, this one's 10 years old. It's been beat up, and I just had peanuts in it this morning. So I've been boiling peanuts and putting those up. You know, you can't can those. Well, I guess you probably could, but the pressurize in them because they're low acidic, they would probably make it too mushy. But we'll freeze those. But we found out this is called a fruit steamer. This is new to me, and I just tried it out this year. And it takes the place of this because a lot of people can't pick this up. Once you fill it up with water, it's really, really heavy. Well, this takes that place, and basically you put on your stove. I brought the instructions there, but you would fill the bottom up. It's got the little knobs there, and you fill that up with water, and put your thing on it, back in it, and bring it up to a simmer, like if you're doing jelly and stuff. And you can do the different sizes at different times. You put them in there while it's steaming and place that on it. And there's a little gauge on it. And you'll look in your book and it tells you what little color gauge you're at for your altitude. That's where it comes back into where you want to know your altitude. And once that little red dial gets to your zone on here, that's when you'd set your timer for however the recipe says to do it. And go from there. Then turn it off and wait. Now, when you go to open it, even though it's been sitting for 20, 30 minutes after the time, always open away from you because it will steam and it'll scald you. But it will do just the same as a water bath canner with less water because you're building all that pressure up in there instead of being under the water. So I was curious and I bought this because I sat there for a year because I was like, I don't want to do it. It's so groceries are expensive and you don't want to be doing something and mess it up. So, but I did, and we done some of our musky dime jelly that way. The only thing I think is it don't, I guess you'd say jellify as much. Like my husband likes it like jelly, hard jelly. It makes it more of a jam to me. The consistency is more of a jam in here, which we done some Kool-Aid jelly. It's basically just Kool-Aid and sugar and everything. The kids saw it somewhere and they want to try it. It did jellify. And I think that's more of the ratio though with how much sugar you put in it makes it that way. So I lean more on the less sugar side of some of my recipes, and I try to I will buy the low sugar, no sugar Sure-Gel when I'm doing things. My husband says it makes an aftertaste. I'm not sure. It don't to me. But we use those. So if you're wanting to like pickles and relishes and stuff like that and don't want to use one of these, you can look on. I think I got it off Amazon. It was back 2 or 3 years ago. It was only like $30 or $40. It's probably higher than that now. But this is an option for you. That way you're not having a lot of water to move around and fill up. Some people can't go, their sink's way over here, then they got to take it all the way to the stove. So this will decrease that problem. So I thought that would be something I could show y'all to give some people a different alternative on that. And so we have that. So like I said, that's just going to be your high acidic foods only. Don't try to put your meats or your corn and stuff like that in here. This is just for your jams, jellies, pickles, and stuff like that in your steamer. And then we move to the pressure canner. Now mine's a larger one. This is an All-American. They're a little bit higher. And it has a rack in it that you can take. And I think it holds 14 pints. I can double stack them. You set this on top of it and you set your second rack in there. So I can do more. I'm doing, like, currently at the house, I have 50 pounds of carrots, I have 50 pounds of potatoes. So I know I need to do at least 30 quarts of things. So I can do so many quarts, but I can put that on top, and if I have some leftover, I can add pints on top of that. So I can double up my usage. Now, they make them smaller, because, like, I have a large family, that's why when we do can, we can in bulk. So if you wanted, they have, I think it's the Presto brand, Walmart has it, I believe. And it looks the same, but it's about this big. And I have my mother-in-law's, I should have got it out of storage, she gave it to me. Because we're in full mode, like canning corn and stuff, I will have 3 different going at the same time. And this can be taken outside if you have a propane cooker outside, like a crawfish pot or some fish fryer. You can put this on there, and we do that a lot. With this one, that's why it's all stained up. But the pressure ones, my grandma always just called it a pressure cooker. She never called it a canner. She always cooked her meat and stuff like that in it. She never canned in it. So when I got it, I was nervous, but let's see, the Presto was like, I think it's the same way. It's got the little jiggler. This is your weight. And that's when I come back to elevation all over again. You need to know how much weight to put on your pot. Mine is 10. No, some people's 15 if you go up higher. Some people's is 5 if you're lower, or like in the lower states and stuff down by sea level. So what you would do with the pressure canner is mine holds, look at your instruction manual when you get it. It'll tell you exactly how much water to put into it. Mine holds 3 quarts to start out with. Now, I'll go back to hot packing or cold packing, whether I'm going to start it out warm or I'm going to start it out cold. So if I'm starting it out warm while I'm sterilizing jars and stuff, I'll have this warming up on whatever I'm cooking on. And I'll touch it with my fingers a lot of times just to see exactly where it's at, because if you touch this gets really hot before the water gets hot. So I've learned that even though this is hot, the water inside might not be as hot. So once you get it going and everything, you've sterilized your jars, you've filled them up. And I forgot to mention earlier, when you're putting those, I take white vinegar, and you always want to check to make sure. I've noticed a lot of them now are 4% acidity. You always need 5% acidity to pickle and everything. I don't know why they went down on the acidity, but they have. So always make sure it's 5% acidity. And I also put it in this little thing. You can pour it on a rag. This is just something I got off of Amazon. It's like, I want to say it's like for nail salons. You put nail polish remover or something in it. It's called a polish remover or something. But you just push on it and you take it that way. I'm not having to pour it. So just dab your sponge on there and keep it like that. And it fills it up. And you're going to wipe your rims really good, because like your meat, when you're packing them, they just have natural oils in them. And if that natural oil comes in contact with that little rubber seal underneath there, it won't stick. So that'll cause, it might seal at first and you think, oh, okay, it's fine, it's sealed. Well, it could be a week or so later and be smelling something in your pantry. And it's because it's came unsealed and it's soured and mildewed and so. And that's why I don't store nothing with rings on it. None of my stuff is stored with rings, because that's where, if you had a ring on it, it would be, let's see. I keep all my boxes, because I keep all my rings in my boxes after I get done with them. Now, when I say finger tight, that's all I mean. Now, I will crank it down a little bit more, simply because that's just how I was taught. And I haven't had no problems, so. So this was on your shelf. You have it like that. Well, if that little seal comes loose, because a lot of times when you get their canning, they're loose. Well, a lot of people, if it comes loose and when it's not sealed, that rings up, so it's going to press it right back down. So you've already had bacteria go in there, and it's exposed that food once it came unsealed. Well, this ring has on here, and some people might walk by, tighten it. Well, that bacteria is growing in there because it's came unsealed. Well, if it comes unsealed on one of these, it don't have anything to press it back down. So it's gonna, you'll know, because when I pick it up every so often, I dust them off and everything on my cabinet sometimes. I'll go in there, that's how I pick everything up. By those, you'll know when you pick it up and it's not sealed, it just flops right off. So I throw that away from then on. A lot of people get sick, so, oh, it's gonna waste, and they try to eat it. Don't eat it if the seal's not, if it's been so told, eat it. So, like I said, make sure a lot of people are scared of canning because of that, the bacteria. So, take your rings off when you pull them, that way, and just check them every month or so. You're in your pantry or your cabinets or something, moving stuff around, just kind of walk by and pick them up. I mean, everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's gonna, it don't. So that's with your pressure canner. Clean it, put it in there with the cold, hot, whatever you're doing. You've done filled it up, you wipe the rim, put your top on, crank your rim out, you stick it in here. It's warm water, so you're gonna put your thing, after you get it filled, all your jars, you're gonna take your lid. This one has an arrow. Let me bring you can see that. And it also has an arrow on the pot here, so it makes it a little better. And you just kind of put it up. And I do opposite sides when I'm cranking it down. And you'll tighten that down all the way around. All the way around. And then you'll turn your stove up or your cooker or whatever you're using to a higher setting. This little valve here is where you're going to watch for steam. And it's like, once you see a steady stream, you'll see it spitting and sputtering and stuff. But when you have a steady row, it's like shh, like a teapot, and you come, and that's when you'll take, when I see that steam coming, I let it go for 10 minutes. You let your steam roll for 10 minutes, and then you take your little weighted gauge, like I said, mine's 10, and I'll drop it on there. Well, it's going to take a little bit to build pressure up in it. And once it starts building pressure, it'll move and make a noise. And that's when you know your pressure's coming up. Now I have always learned that when you know to start your timer for your pressure, and that's going to be where it says to cook something like meat is cooked for pints is 75 minutes, for quarts I believe it's 90 minutes. That's any kind of meat that you're going to do. That's when I start the timer for that, is when that starts. And I want it to be doing it at least 3 to 4 times within a minute, shaking. And I want it to do that, and I'll go the whole 30 minutes listening to it to make sure, and then I can walk away and come back the next hour or so, depends on what size I'm doing. But once all that's cooked, it's all, go ahead and you'll watch this gauge. It'll go up to 10. I know a lot of the older pressure cookers don't have the gauges on them, so it makes it a little bit trickier on watching it. But if you just listen to that, and as long as it's steady going, you'll know it's at pressure. But I watch my gauge, whether I'm going too high or too low. I'm always going there and watching it and making sure. Don't ever just put something in and just think, oh, well, it's fine, walk away. No, because it will get hotter depending on the stove and everything, or what's in there. It'll get really hot sometimes, and if that causes siphoning, causes jars to break, you don't want to do that. So you really want to keep up between 10 and 11 is where I keep it at. So say this went on and my timer went off, don't remove this right away. It will spew and that's when everybody has problems with everything. The seal's busting. It's going to turn your stove off. Just walk away, let it go down, and you'll watch this. It'll go all the way back down to 0. And then I still let it sit for a little bit. And this will be hot, so use like a mitten or something, pull it off. And there'll still be a little water spitting and sputtering off of that. And then I'll crank it back down, and I have let it sit for even longer than that once I do that. And this is the same as the steamer. When you open it, open it away from your face. That way you don't cause any burns or anything. And these All-Americans, I'll put like olive oil or something on them around, not a very little bit, because that'll help the seal too. Because these don't have rubber gaskets like a lot of the Prestos and stuff like that. This don't have that. So I'll wipe it down really good with a paper towel with a little olive oil on it to keep that pressure. Like I said, the main part of canning is know your elevation and what you're canning. Meat, vegetables, is it low acidic? Is it high acidic? That is the main thing that you want to do. And once you're comfortable using all 3 of these, then you can get out and look at different books. I have 2 books by Diane Devereaux. A lot of people, it's called The Canning Diva. I think it's a Facebook, a website, and everything. She does meals in a jar. Now that's where it comes in handy for us, because I make different meals in a jar. So I was telling them earlier, I know in this book, in your complete pressure canning guide, is potato soup. She walks you through, you have chicken broth, your potatoes, bacon, I think, so I have chives in here, carrots, several different things, and you can omit different things as far as vegetables you like. Now, don't omit any vinegar or any lemon juice or anything like that, because that is what's causing your acidic levels. So don't go, a lot of things, you don't want to omit too many things, but different ingredients is fine. When she tells you and walks you through it, now when I got ready to use this, I would heat it up. I always heat it up because, as you can tell, it's thick. So I'd heat it up and then I'd pour it in the pot. I'd add heavy whipping cream and my cheese then, because you're not supposed to can dairy and all that. So according to the FDA and USDA and all that. So you would heat this up, put in your milk, butter, cheese, and it's ready to go. So within less than 15 minutes, you'd have your big supper. Now my kid's favorite that we make is called burrito in a jar. And it's basically rice, pinto beans. I pack raw hamburger meat in there. So this was raw, but as you can see, it's cooked now. Because anytime you put anything in that pressure canner for that amount of time, it will cook your meat. And it's got rotel, and then I put taco seasoning. I make my own taco seasoning. That way I know that it don't have any preservatives, anything, clumping agents, or anything in it. So, there's several of the canning books that will show you different seasoning recipes if you're into that. So, and I think I got onions. Sometimes I put bell peppers in there. And sometimes instead of hamburger meat, I'll use fajita meat. I'll just chop up like skirt steaks, whatever I find on sale is usually what I use. So, but they dump it in a jar, warm it up, and put cheese on it in a tortilla, and there you go. You could add rice and tomato juice to it and some salsa or something, and you could have like a taco soup if you wanted to. Maybe beef broth or something to liquefy it a little bit more. Potatoes, they're my favorite thing to do. It's a hassle to peel them and wash them and everything, but these turn out, we cube them. I have one of those, I should have brought it. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. It's a little mandolin-like thing. You stick it on there and you smash it, it chops it all in the cubes. Well, we take big, huge containers. We'll peel them in one. The next little tray has the potatoes, and the other person is slicing them in whatever, however thick we want it. The next person is chopping them. And so it's a family affair. So, and we do them in the cubes. Put them in there. I put a little slab of butter, a little salt, and this is your raw packing. There's no liquid. That is all butter and starch out of your potatoes in the bottom there. And you can see the butter where it's melting in there. But that's all it is. I don't put no liquid, because when you put liquid, it'll make it like in a soup. It's mushier. And then I'll put it in my pressure canner for however long I'm using it for. Now, when I get ready to use this, I pop the top off, use a spatula and plop it down in a skillet. It fries up and makes breakfast potatoes. They're crispy on the outside, and my husband likes it when I do that and make it like eggs in it, make like a breakfast bowl. And you can also dump it in there in soups and it'll cook and get mushy. But we also put them in French fries. It's shove them down in there long ways and do that. That way, when you want French fries, just dump them out, dry them off, and just fry them. And you have French fries. They get golden crispy on the outside, and they're very mushy and tender on the inside. So that's one of our raw packing things, along with meat. The brisket, same way. I packed it in there, got the bubbles out, caught it on sale. I've done that. And chicken breast, you can do chicken thigh, you can do any part of the chicken, really. You can even can like legs, stick legs in. But like somebody was saying earlier, the bones get really brittle. When you start pressure canning anything, your bones it breaks down all the collagen and all that in it. So they get brittle, and then you got shards of bone you got to pick out. So I debone everything before I can it. And this makes great chicken salad, chicken noodle soup. You're in a hurry, it's already cooked. So you just got to pop it out and use it however you want.
Did you put liquid with that, or is that liquid that came?
That's the liquid that it made.
Okay.
Because your chicken has that fat and stuff on it. And I mean, this was skinless, boneless breast, so they didn't really have that much fat on them. But when they pressure can, they make their own broth. So you can use that broth when you're cooking if you wanted that, or drain it off and use it in chicken salad or something. And ours, mainly during the summer, we go through a lot because we make a lot of chicken salad in our house because we're busy, and that's just something we can grab and go. My husband's favorite is beef stew. So I either do deer meat or I'll buy like a big roast. I don't ever buy it already cut up. I'll buy the roast and I'll chop them up into like 1-inch cubes and do that. It has beef broth. I don't put no seasonings in it. I wait until he says, oh, I want spicy, or I want this or that. I'll say, when I dump it out, I'll add the pepper and all that. This has potatoes, carrots, and beef, and it does have a garlic clove in it. I'll put garlic in it. Now, this does have liquid in it that I did. I made bone broth, beef bone broth, and it was hot. This was a hot pack. So all the meat and vegetables were cold, but I poured the hot beef over it and then pressure canned it for, I think this was 75 minutes on the size.
And the meat was raw.
Yeah, the meat was raw.
The meat is always
You
raw.
can, I know a lot of people like to take their meat once they cut it up and they braise it just to get that brownness, that caramelization on it. They'll braise it and then can it. It's just all, it gives it a different flavor. I do it more for time. I can cut it up, pack it, and do like a little system, and there's less stuff for me to clean up later. But, and that's something he comes in, he pours it in a bowl, adds his Tony's or whatever he wants to it, because he likes stuff spicier and the kids don't. So that's where I'll find a lot of my stuff is a little bit blander on the shelf, but I can season it once I add it to the pot. So that's it. And we have, at home, we have sloppy joe in a jar. I make my own sloppy joe mix, and I'll make a big pot of slop with the hamburger meat, and I'll can it up in quart-sized jars, and I can use one of those when the kids get hungry in the evenings if they want sloppy joes. We have chili already made up. Trying to think of all the different things. I'll do chicken pot pie filling. You have everything you put in a chicken pot pie in the jar, and the only thing you'd mix with it is your butter and your cream, and fill your pot pie up with it. I mean, it's endless on the different things. As long as you do your reading and find out what your house timing and stuff. I've memorized the meat because we do a lot of meat. Like we're big hunters and everything. And our biggest thing is we don't want stuff in freezers, because when the electricity goes out, you done lost all of your meat. So a ton of our meat is canned instead of frozen. So that's why we have got into meat, is that way my husband likes to, I guess you'd call him a prepper or whatever. He don't want to depend on if the lights go out or something like that, or we're stuck, because last year at Christmas time when it froze, it got down to 1 degree. We lost power, water, and everything for a week. So thank goodness it was cold when that happened, because all our stuff stays frozen. But what if it was during the middle of summer like it was now at 100 degrees, all of our meats would have, because we buy half a cow. So I mean, we got a lot of meat in there and everything. So that's why we've got into, we're moving more. If we can put it in a can, we're putting it in a can. Now, I didn't bring any because I haven't got any, we've used it all, but you can take your dry beans. They're cheap and easy. I mean, you put, I think it's 3/4 of a cup of pinto beans in a quart and fill it up with water, pressure can it, and they'll swell up and they'll fill the whole jar. And you can add all your different seasonings and have baked beans. You can do just about any kind of bean you can do that with. That way you have beans on the shelf. And they're easy. When you want to do anything, you just pour them in there. And my biggest thing I was telling earlier, my kids, we talk about we're an ingredient family. We don't have everything on hand as far as fast food and everything, but we can go to the pantry, we can pull everything. If I have carrots, I have potatoes, I have corn, well, I can make and I got meat, I can make a soup or anything. So it is there and it's fast. We have football, we have track, we both work full time. So this for canning makes it a whole lot easier. It's not just something everybody's like, well, that's what your grandparents done, blah, and all that. They didn't have refrigerators. Well, we have refrigerators. We have ways to serve it. Our biggest thing is we know what went into this, because a lot of it came out of our garden. So you know what, if you use any fertilizers or pesticides or anything, you're not putting nothing in here usually besides vinegar or lemon juice for your acidity. So you know what preservatives are in this. So you're not having any toxins and like that. Because I do read up on all that and the way it affects, the fast foods, all the stuff in it. Like citric acid, everything is preserved with citric acid. Citric acid is the black mold off cornstarch. I mean, everybody talks about you getting sick off of black mold. Well, citric acid is, they let cornstarch mold and they rake it off and they make a citric acid out of it. So they're just getting black mold, but then they're telling you it makes you sick too. So I do a lot of research on that, where I make, not only do we can, I make my own laundry detergent, my own cleaners and stuff like that. So canning just played a role in it, knowing what my kids are going to have. I didn't want them, that everybody talks about all these red dyes and all this stuff affecting them. Well, I've noticed I still have my kids. Don't get me wrong. We eat a lot of canned food. We still have stuff in the freezer that's fast and everything. Because we're only human. They want a waffle, I will buy waffles. They can go pop it in there. No, I'm not our whole house is not this way. Do I wish it was? Yes, it does. And if I have time, yeah, I will make the waffles. Yeah, I do. I stopped buying Hot Pockets. I do make our own Hot Pockets. And I have different meats out of the can. I'll make pot pizza sauce and marinara sauce. And that's what I'll use for my sauces in my Hot Pockets. And instead of buying shredded cheese, I do buy block cheese, and we shred all of it because they have all the preservatives in that. So canning was just another way of helping take out all the preservatives and toxics in our life. Because, I mean, our end goal is for your whole family to be healthy. So I just want, and I try to, a lot of people are scared of canning and stuff, and I want to bring light to it. And it's not bad, and it's not, it seems like it's a lot, but it's not. Start off with your water bath. And you don't even have to have one of these water bath canners. If you have a really big stock pot that you can stick, the big silver stock pots. It's anything that'll go and let it cover up the inch headspace on it. You can water bath anything. So, and then when you get more comfortable with doing those, then reach out to somebody or try to go up and do the pressure canner. I mean, it's all just comfortable with yourself. And yes.
Could you use an Instapot?
I have seen several people that use them. I have an Instapot. I have not tried to do that, but I have seen there's Facebook pages on it. And I'm assuming you get the same pressure and everything. So they, Presto does have electric pressure canner. And I have bit the bullet and been like, I'm gonna get it. And then I'll add it to my cart. It's like $300. And then I'm like, no, I need this for something else. I'll take it out of my cart. So I really want to try one of the electric ones because, like I said, it is one of the walk away. You put it in there, twist it, and you can walk away from it. So then, but it's not as big. You're only going to be able to do your pints and half pints and stuff like that. So, and I think one time it got down to like $269. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get it. And I'll talk myself out of it. So, but yeah, that is an option. I've seen lots of people do stuff in Instapot.
I've got two. I've got a small one that's a 3-quart, and then I've got a bigger one.
I have an 8-quart, and I've been like, I'm gonna try it. And then I ended up just pulling this out because, like I said, I do large batches, and I'm like, okay. Now, when I done peppers, if I would have been doing something that required a pressure canner, I might have tried it because I didn't have the last time. These are all out of my garden. I just done these in August. It had just started really making peppers, but I have pulled them up. I just threw these. I didn't even use my big water bath canner. I had a big Dutch oven, like a big cast iron pot, and I just stuck all these in there. I think I had half a dozen jars, and that was it. So that, and this is just a brine made with vinegar and sugar and peppercorns, garlic. I mean, it wasn't nothing fancy at all. It's just like pepperoni peppers, like you buy in the cans, some Italian peppers and stuff. That's what these are out of my garden. We eat a lot of pepperoni peppers because we like to make the roast and stuff with the peppers on it. And I have put the peppers in with that and done it that way. They call it the, like a Mississippi roast or something that has the ranch seasonings and everything. Well, I make my own ranch seasonings. I buy all the different ingredients, like your powdered buttermilk and everything. And you can use all that. I have used it in the canning things. Read and follow what makes you safe. So, like I said, there's everything I teach when I come out and talk to people, I try to do is the USDA, FDA says, because I don't want to get nobody sick, I don't want to get nobody in trouble. A lot of people gripe about this Diane Devereaux because they say she don't follow all that, but she does have an independent lab where all of her recipes are tested. She sends it off to make sure that they are true and they're not going to get sick off of them. Now, there's tons of Facebook groups on there, and they can anything you can imagine. So if you're safe with trying it, I mean, worst part, which you're going to get sick. I mean, yeah, a lot of times it's not going to be botulism. You're going to get stomach cramps. You're going to get all that. You'll know. Or it's going to smell really bad. So you'll know not to eat it. So, like, I'm fixing to venture out and canned milk and stuff because, like, somebody told me, and now it's stuck with me. We go to the grocery store and buy canned milk. We buy canned foods. Well, we're trusting big companies to can this stuff. Why don't we trust ourselves to do this? So I'm like, they kind of got a point there, because we don't know what's fell in that big old pot or what chemicals have been washed with or anything. And you're drinking the pet milk or the evaporated milk and all that. So I'm like, I'm going to try it myself. I have made sweetened condensed milk before in the crock pot, in the Instant Pot. You put the milk inside the jar and cook it, and it makes it caramelized. So, yes, ma'am.
So if I have a small batch I want to do I need to make the size of the pot smaller? I mean, like,
You can, I mean, you could still, if you only had that pot, you could do 4 jars in the
Okay.
center, just put them in the center. And a lot of times if I don't have space, and like if I'm using this and I need my pressure canner or something, I'll fill these up with water.
Oh.
Like I'll just take some empty jars,
Yeah.
fill them up with water and stick around them. That way it covers the space.
Right.
And I was also told, I don't know if it was my grandma or who, everybody sticks their empty shell, the jars on the shelf. Fill them up and can them with water. They're taking up space anyway, so you have sterile water on hand if you ever need it for Band-Aids, cuts. Say water got shut off and you needed sterile water. It's been sterilized in there in that pressure can or that water bath, so you have clean, fresh water. So it's taking up room anyway, so why not have water? So that's one of our things, so yeah, everybody's like, yeah, tough. If it's been open and it's an empty jar and I've reused it before, I'll just fill it up with water and do that and stick it on the shelf. So you have water in case of emergencies of any kind. So we try to make use of our space and everything in our house. Because, like I said, we're a large family. We live in a tiny house, so it takes a lot of room just for us to live. So if I'm having to put something in there, it's got to benefit us at some point in time. So if anybody has any questions, I guess.
I have a couple.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when you were talking about putting the dry beans in there with the liquid, and then after it pressure cans,
Yep.
then they're cooked like.
Yep, they're
And you
done.
would
They're
like-
mushy. You can just pour them out and you can eat them right then.
You have to
Everything.
like rinse them and drain them like if you
That's
buy them.
beforehand, you can do that, rinse the dry beans off,
Mhm.
so they're gonna be clean, so no, you don't have to, like your can's not, you don't have all the preservatives that you're rinsing off, that's what you're rinsing off when you buy canned good, is all the gel preservative, the citric acid and all that has preserved them.
And when you do it, you just put liquid and do you put salt in there?
You can, if you want salt, it's up to you, salt is a preference on it, some people put salt, some people don't, so, Redmond's real salt is a really good salt to use for your canning salt. I use this as more when I'm making pickles, it makes it crisper. Now, when my salts, when I'm canning, I use a lot of Celtic salt because it has, I think it's 92 different minerals and stuff in it. Or I buy Redmond's real salt and I use it when I'm canning. And that way, it just depends, like I said, you can put all kinds of different seasonings in them. But my biggest thing is, it depends on who I'm cooking for later,
Yeah.
what they're gonna like. And like when people are sick, like I do a lot of bone broths, you done all the chicken and deboned it or whatever, you have a turkey after Christmas, or I have a big roaster, one of those big, huge roasters that everybody cooks their turkeys in. Well, I'll put all my vegetable scraps, because like when I'm cooking in the kitchen, my onions or my bell pepper, whatever kind of scraps I have, I take them and put them in a Ziploc bag in the freezer. So then I take all the bones of like rotisserie chickens or anything that I've saved up, and I'll roast them in the oven until they get like a brown caramelly color, and I'll put them in that roaster and let them go for 24 to 48 hours and make a broth. And that's hot, so I'll get all the vegetables out of it, and then I will strain it and put it in jars, and then I'll pressure can it, just like I would meat. So when I'm making my soup, I have that. Or if you're sick, you can drink bone broth, the marrow and everything. It's really good for your gut and everything. Yeah.
Another question was when you were talking about like doing chili and stuff. Does it all, like I'm thinking like we have this recipe from my grandpa for the chili
Right.
that we'll make like a big batch.
Right.
Normally what we've done, it's all cooked.
Yeah.
And simmered, and then we often just put it in stuff in the freezer. But can you already cooked put it in
Just
there,
kind
or
of
does it
look at
always
it.
have to be raw?
No, they don't have to be raw. You can, like, I know a lot of people do brown rhubarb meat and pack it in there because they don't want the, let's see, you see all the fat, that white is your grease, where it's cooked. A lot of people don't want that. I like the grease that's healthy. It's from that. It's not like it's anything bad grease. So if you want to cook it and drain off your meat, you can do that. That way you don't have a lot of grease in there. So it just know when you do it raw, it's going to produce its own grease.
Okay.
So.
But any kind of soup really, if you could make hot and put it in there.
Now,
It'd
your
be hot.
rice, like, a lot of things that, my husband's like, well, why don't you just can it, put it on the shelf? Well, I've already cooked my rice, and, sometimes in there, so I'm like, I don't wanna put rice in a can and can it again, because it's gonna turn to mush, because you've already cooked it, and then you're gonna pressure cook it, and then, well, it's just gonna be disintegrated in there. So I won't do rice and soup, like soups that have rice, I won't do soups that have pasta,
Right.
because all that's just gonna turn to mush when you pressure can it. So if it's something I know that's mixed with pasta later on, I'll be like, if I know I'm gonna have too much, I'll just do the pasta separate. That way I can do that. But if it's already mixed in there, like I said, I freeze it. I got found on Amazon, they're 1 cup cubes, and I'll pour the soup in there and you freeze it and pop it out and I vacuum seal it into 1 cup servings in the freezer.
So like that burrito thing, that was dry rice,
Everything dry rice,
dry
dry
beans, raw meat,
Yep.
all that.
Now, and then you can look at the rice and the beans, they're all cooked. Once you're in there for 90 minutes, like this one was able to be in there 90 minutes because it's a quart with meat. That's all the liquid that I put in there and the liquid out of the hamburger meat will soak into that rice and the beans. So, yeah, I've never not had, everything's been mushy by the time when we put in the burritos. So you can put onions, like this has onions, and I will, when I do the fajita kind of meat, I will put bell peppers in it. Kids won't eat bell peppers, so a lot of that don't. The burrito is just plain and simple, so it's easy for them. So, like I said, everything you can. Biggest thing, come to the library here and get books. They have canning books here and everything, because that's why I came and I've gotten canning books here before. And then just like these, I know, or I had this one for years now. I don't even remember when it came out. This is a lot. The one thing I have not tried, this just made me think about it. It's fish. You can can fish. I'm not. I like my fish fried. I don't like it soggy, so I'm not gonna. And it's pressure can tuna, shrimp, all that you can pressure can.
Like what you'd make,
Yeah,
tuna salad or something.
yeah.
Or
So
salmon.
you could do that. I like my fish a little fried and crispy. I'm not gonna. I like them, but a lot of people do like fish soups and stuff. I do know like Asian ethnicity and stuff. They do fish soup and stuff. So I guess that's where that would come in. I don't know. Now this is her new book that just came out. It's called Canning First Full Circle, and I haven't even got through it all yet. I did have. Like I said, I got 50 pounds of carrots, so I'm gonna make ginger carrots. She has in here, so that'd be something different. But the best part about this book is. It's your table of contents here. It says in the jar canning. Well, that tells you what you're going to make in the canner. Well, then the next chapter is to the table eating. It shows you how to cook with what you just made. So
Nice.
that's really good. It's by Diane Devereaux's Canning First Full Circle. I think she had a big sale. I think these were only $11. I don't know if they still are, but it was like their introduction price of it because then it's $30. So, and like the ball books, there's several different ball books that you can get. Tells you a lot of pickling recipes and stuff like that. Yeah, the door prizes they have are these. I love them. I will pick up a canning book in a thrift store or Goodwill or anything because I'm always like, ooh, even if they're old. A lot of people say don't do canning stuff that's old. Well, I can look at it and tell, okay, it's got meat in it. I know it's how long it's got to be and all that. So that's how they always done stuff. So in jams and jellies, they don't do it all the same. And I remember as a kid, I was like, well, this don't taste the same. Well, I talked to Granny, well, that's why you didn't do this or that. And then I add other stuff to it. So, but to be safe, always start out with your books and your charts on what you need. And they're going to be at the front of the books. It says canning low acidic foods like your meat, seafood. You make sure you need to know about your jars. That's your temperatures and stuff. Just get a book and familiarize yourself with, okay, this is strong acidic or this is not and everything. That way that way you're safe. Follow recipes and make sure they're from trusted people because some people just come up with their own and you're like, I don't know about that. So yeah, when I say do this, I don't know everything. Like I said, I'm self-taught. I have just trying to help my family out and help my friends out and everything. So a lot of my friends, a lot of them don't cook. So they're like, hey, can I have an order this way? So I have it. And my biggest thing is I want to spread it out and teach people because it's a dying art that people don't do no more. And I think a lot of people would benefit from it, especially this day and age. You find something on sale because groceries are so expensive. Put them up. That way you have them. And they're shelf stable so they're not in your freezer or anything. They're not going to go bad. So that was my big point on all that. I don't do it as much now, but I do have some canning work on my YouTube page. I think we changed the name of it. It's called Home with Honey. I do have some videos that walks you through. I think I done the beef stew, and I think it was either the burrito or the sloppy joe was on there. I do need to get back into that, but Because I have a lot of people asking me to, hey, can I come watch this or come watch you do that? Well, when I start doing something, it's at last minute, it's like, oh, I got this extra, I gotta put it up. So it's kind of hard to call somebody and be like, oh, look, I'm doing this. I need to start, I have a Facebook page called Home with Honey, where I post stuff out of the garden and where I make stuff. So I'll plan on getting back probably this fall and spring when we do our garden stuff. I'm gonna get a better camera to be able to record better, clearer videos, because right now I just use my phone. And start documenting more. That way I can get the, spread more words, get more people into it. Because I think everybody needs to get into it with everything it is nowadays. So, other than that, I guess that's it.
I have a couple of other questions. So, and they're kind of only indirectly
Oh, that's fine.
all this stuff. Like, other than like, if the grocery store has a sale, like if you just, go, I wanna, I don't know, make a bunch of king tomatoes. Like, and you don't have that in your garden. Where do you recommend?
Farmers markets where I would recommend going, first and foremost. I go there a lot because if something's not growing in my garden or I need more of it because mine didn't produce, that's the first thing. I'm gonna go down here every Saturday when I know stuff's in produce and and a lot of times they'll make, the farmers and stuff, they'll make better deals with you there when you're buying in bulk. Tell them, say, they have the little egg cartons or whatever, the little strawberry bins and stuff, like, oh, well, I need this, but this. Well, they'll make you a little bit better deal on stuff. Because, I think the green beans, they weren't selling them in bushels or something, but I needed a bushel. I bought 2 bushels of green beans. I was like, I really need a lot because we eat, at least twice a week we eat green beans. So he did make me a better deal on it. Like I said, there's a place that I just went and picked up my carrots and potatoes and apples and all that's in Dumas, Arkansas. It's called Newswangers. It's on, I think it's 65 south out. Go to Little Rock, go down to Pine Bluff, get on 65, and it's on the right. They go up to Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky from Amish farms and stuff, and they bring back this produce. Like the apples I just got, when you go to the grocery store, you can take a knife literally and scrape that apple, and it has the waxy stuff on it. Now, these are like, they have big pallet bins, and you're digging through limbs and leaves and everything. So these apples didn't go and get nothing on them. So everything is organic that they bring in. And they, even during the summer, he goes to Honduras and Guatemala and stuff, and he brings back tropical fruits down there. So you can get organic tropical fruits at this Newswangers. Plus they have plants. If you want to grow your garden, they have all the plant starts and all that during the spring. They have chicken feed that they mix themselves, anything. They have fertilizers, you name it. They have it all there. Seasonings and bulk. Newswangers.
Newswangers.
It's NEWSWAGENER. So they're on Facebook, and he's constantly posting what's there and what they have. So, if you're wanting to build up your pantry and stock, that is somewhere that's optional. Like I can go down there and get potatoes, and because we were running out of potatoes, and those are russet. What I did buy from them this past time is your big red ones. I scrub them up, peel them, they all work the same. Now, when you're doing potatoes, though, I will tell you the russets are higher in the starch. Peel them, soak them for an hour, drain that off, soak them again. You want to do a couple of soaks to get the higher starch potatoes. Because it'll just be more, that's what your starch is, that's what it is in the bottom. So, but other than that, that is where I would go, to a farm.
Okay.
We have a lot of local farmers around here that, even though they're not, can't make it to the farmer's market to get them, you can contact them and get from them at their place.
Okay. The other question was just, maybe this is a stupid question, but like,
No question's stupid, I promise.
how do you make time to do it, like to drag all the stuff out and do all the little
Right.
steps?
Well, I have it scattered around my house. No, but like I said, I live in a tiny house. So people that live in, like when I say tiny, I literally mean we have less than 1,000 square foot. It started out as a portable building that we added on to because we were trying to get away from bills and trying to do everything. So we have cabinets in the kitchen, and I utilize my cabinets with the stuff I cook. I used to have all kinds of kitchen gadgets and everything, and I'm slowly realizing that less stuff is more time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have less stuff, you don't have to worry about it. Now my canning stuff, my husband's always like, because I keep dragging more stuff. He's actually fixing to build me this following winter. He's gonna start on it. I'm getting an outdoor kitchen, a canning kitchen. Because with a big gas range and all that, so I'll move all this out there. But like you said, where do I find time? Well,
Yeah, the time.
when I'm cooking it and I'm like, okay, we've ate on it a couple days. And I know I can can it. I will drag something out and I'll go ahead and do it. I might be up till midnight that night It's, a lot of it is just the discipline in yourself to do it. Like, I went Thursday, we had to go to Louisiana to my in-laws. Well, I knew I was going by Newswanger. Well, I really, we had homecoming, we had football, I had this class. I'm like, I bought 200 pounds of produce. And that's, last night we boiled peanuts. We have a big crawfish we grow on the back porch. So 50 pounds of peanuts got boiled last night. Now those I can't, like I said, I can't can them, but I have a vacuum sealer. Peanuts will last, boiled peanuts will last forever in a freezer. So that's a quick, easy snack for the kids. So I put it in there, vacuum seal it, chuck it in the freezer. Well, now I'm scrubbing carrots and peeling carrots and doing all, and it's just doing it in between times. I have 2 refrigerators, and one in the kitchen and one in the laundry room. So one of them's kind of like, when I have meat and stuff like that, I'll go and stick it in the refrigerator. If I can't get to it right then, it goes in the refrigerator. And meat, if I catch it on sale, I don't have time to can it. You can freeze it and defrost it and do it.
And then can
Because a lot of times during deer season, we're busy, we're hunting, we're skinning it, and well, we process our own, so we make our own hamburger, we make it, well, I don't have time to cut up all this stew meat and all the deer and can it, because I have all the big grinders and all that going. We'll cut it up, put it in vacuum seal bags, and I'll throw it in the freezer. And now come December, January, when it's slow and it's cold out, I'll pull it out. And I'll do, oh, today's gonna be my canning day. And I'll do it that way. You can freeze tomatoes right off the bat. Don't do nothing to them. Maybe wash them or something. Throw them in bags, freeze them. That's it. Pull them out. And when they start defrosting, the skin just peels right off. You just, so you don't have to worry about blanching them when you get the skin off. Something about freezing them, you just pull them off. And then I just take the skins, throw them in a bowl, and I have a big dehydrator. Take your skins and put them on your dehydrator, and then you grind them up and you have tomato powder for soups and stuff.
Have you ever made or canned your own peanut butter?
I have made it, I have not canned it, because usually we do it in small batches and we just do it. Because I've done cashew butter to replace, because I don't eat a lot of dairy, so to make cream sauces and stuff, use cashew butter. So I have to, you just soak them in water, and then you put them in, like, have a big Vitamix blender, you blend it and make it that way. And so I've never thought about canning it. I have to look into that, because that would be, like I said, you can go to this Newswangers, they do have the roasted peanuts that are already roasted, and you've had time to sit there and shell them out. You can make your own.
Awesome. Thank you.
So, yeah. Any other questions? That's it? There's a lot more that I could go over, but like, just to get you your foot in the door.
Okay, thank you, Jane.
Yes.
Well, I think we covered a lot. We do have a place, and they happen to be these two for our store prices, and you have a pretty good chance of getting one. We're gonna let you read the number.
It is 366748.
48. There you go. Awesome, and then one more.
Yeah, just sit there. Books are my favorite. I'll read them at night in bed, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I like. Yep.
Yeah.
366749.
49.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry. Thank you.
There's a lot of YouTube channels where
Yes,
homesteaders do
yes,
canning, so that's something too. There's a lot of people go watch YouTube.
yes. YouTube's awesome.
Yes. You just look up canning. They have, it's called Canuary in February.
anywhere.
Oh, that's
So a lot of different YouTube channels collaborate together with like Ball and Foremost cans and stuff. And they walk every day. Some other person's canning something different. So that's where you get different canning recipes that way too.
Well, and we do have some books on the back table that are at the library here. If you want to see if there's something that might be good, you could check them out. What they changed.
Yes.
And the Garland County Library and Master Gardeners for y'all coming, and that's good. I think that was
Thank
great.
you very much.
Yes, thank you.